It's an interesting week because Uranus is stationary this week, having been retrograde for a period. Now it's going forward again in the 20th degree of Taurus, so it's stationary in that 20th degree. That emphasizes both Uranus and the 20th degree of Taurus, so we'll look at those. The second thing that's happening is that Pluto, once again, for the second time, is moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. And of course, Aquarius is very strongly influenced by Uranus. So we've got something happening here out of the ordinary. And that's my interest in astrology and studying transits, is not to look at something that happens every month or every year even, but to look at things which happen rarely. And this is the emphasis that I like to put on things, because I want to give my attention to the slow-moving evolutionary trends of my life and of the life of the species as we're moving towards a rather defining chapter in our history, by which I mean Armageddon, probably, by any other name. And Pluto going into Aquarius, this is somehow resonant with the idea of the age of Aquarius being transformed into reality from having been a concept. We've been talking, as astrologers, about the age of Aquarius. Ever since I've known about astrology, I've known about the age of Aquarius, and there's been songs about it in my lifetime and so on. It's a very big deal. The age of Aquarius, that's a 2,160 year cycle. And this is following on from the age of Pisces, which was brought into being by the Pisces figure, the fishes of Christ, 2,000 years ago. So we're talking about that level of change. We're not going to identify it this week, but we are going to identify it this year. People who are looking at it, they will see differences in the nature of our consciousness as a species. This has shifted. Pluto, having been into Aquarius beforehand last March, has had an effect for a few months and then gone back into Capricorn, so we've kind of forgotten about it a little bit and then come forward again. Well, when it was last in Aquarius, we've had the development of AI, ChatGPT in particular, plus others now. AI, artificial intelligence. We have no idea what that means, but we do know, those of us that can kind of think this through, we do know that we've just crossed a line. We've moved into a world and we can't move back. We've opened Pandora's box. We don't know whether artificial intelligence represents a threat to our species, but there are some very serious people taking the threat very seriously. Now, that was not the case a while ago. Quite recently, that was not the case. There were some conversations about it, more in the realms of sci-fi movies than science, but now it's entered our reality, as sci-fi so often does. And here we move into Pluto in Aquarius, which will certainly transform our science. It will also transform our society and our sense of selves as a species, our sense of selves as an agency of creativity. How are we bringing our agency to bear upon the situation to make it more Aquarius-like? Now, we've got a very naive view of Aquarius, and most of us have got a very naive view of everything in astrology. The age of Aquarius is not all good. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius where love and light is going to work. Yeah, really. I mean, no. It's just how we behave well or badly changes. Now, when we were behaving badly as a species in Capricorn, corporate power took over from nation statehood, really. There was no threat, no danger, no fear of the profit motive overtaking our sense of pride in our homeland, which has happened in the age of Capricorn, and various other things. So in Aquarius, the collective is Aquarius, isn't it? What humanity wants as a species is Aquarius, as opposed to Leo, which is what the individual wants. So there's some force underway which is moving us towards being treated as a group by them, they, the forces, the powers that be are going to treat people like a group. Has that happened in the last year or so? Well, yeah, there's quite a lot of people who now lack individuality that used to have it. Those people particularly who are now homeless. And we're talking about millions upon millions upon millions of people have become homeless very recently. And they've lost their sense of identity. Many have lost their country. Most have lost their residence, of course, these migrants. And the families are different now. They've lost what they had before. And they're being treated by governments and so on as that group of people. That group of people, that Aquarius concept. So the age of Aquarius isn't all good. It's when some people are being treated like a herd rather than individuals. That's happening. So we can see already when Pluto is just nipped into Aquarius for a little while and then nipped out again, and we're just resonating with the implications of what that little touch of energy has done. It's huge already. It's absolutely phenomenal what Pluto has done, just dipping into Aquarius for a moment and then going back into Capricorn when we've had a chance to think things through seriously and make changes in the law and the power of the state and so on. Nevertheless, didn't do much good because we're moving again into the age of Aquarius, and there's even more refugees, and there's even more sense that we need to deal collectively with people rather than individually. Now, some of us will have spiritual points of view on this question. For my money, the individual is the only thing of importance. Groups give the community context, the background of the individual, and even then, the individual as a personality is secondary to the individual soul. So we're going a long way away from soul consciousness when we consider this negative side of Aquarius energy. And when Pluto's in Aquarius, there will be shadow energy, Aquarius type shadow energy, focused first. That's how it happens. You go back 2,000 years and we think about the shadow energy of Pisces, and it's crucifixion, in a word, martyring someone who is highly spiritual. So that's what we did to celebrate the age of Pisces beginning. We put Jesus on the cross, for example. It wasn't the only example, but that's the kind of thing we do. So Pluto going into Aquarius isn't necessarily good news. However, that said, somewhere it is for each of us. There's somewhere to find, and that might be a relationship or an occupation or a geographical position or a mindset. We all have the opportunity to find that place where we can practice the deepest level of Aquarius principles of the higher order. How are we going to find that? Well, this is a good week to kind of come to terms with that question because of Uranus being emphasized. And if we think about how Uranus is expressing itself during this emphatic period, let's look at Taurus 20, wind, clouds, and haste. Spiritual forces. Each step we take towards soul realization is matched by the soul, and so is blessed and supported by unseen forces, which can be called angels or explained as the operation of the superconscious aspect of self. Their signature often appears to us, always disguised and in metaphorical form, especially following a significant breakthrough. From this we can gain clues to our best course of direction for the next step of our long journey. So, during this period when we're considering what can we do in order to optimize the energies of Pluto and Aquarius. At the very least, survive them. In other words, sidestep Armageddon or whatever's coming. Something's coming. I mean, look at what's happening in the news. This is a build-up to something. Look at what's happening in every other dimension which is measured. There's an exponential process going on towards some breakthrough or breakdown. We're transitioning into a new reality. I'm sure most of us already know this, but we have to work out our strategies now. It's not too early. In fact, it's the 11th hour. You have to know where to go if you can't stay where you are. Where do you go? You need to work that out, and that might be relationship, career, geographical location. These kind of things have to be thought through. The idea that we plot our life path over the next 30, 40, 50 years and fulfill our career development and have lots of babies and grandchildren. Yeah, really? Is that what you think will happen over the next 50 years? Because I don't. Not quite like it's been in the last 50 years, for example. And how to find the clues that we need to say, yeah, this is wrong. That's maybe, this is right. Those clues, well, this is wrong, it's clearly wrong. If you have that intuition, trust it. If it feels wrong, it's wrong. Uranus is quite a lot to do with intuition, trusting that quiet inner voice. But the trouble with this intuitive, quiet inner voice, that there's two of them. One of them tells lies. So you have to kind of calibrate these feelings that you have inside, called the quiet inner voice, to find out which of them is actually the truth teller of the two possibilities. Or put differently, you have to test your intuition out. Now, on one level, testing it out in real terms is to do with events and comments, perhaps, when you first start discussing it. Reactions from people, reactions to their reactions within yourself. Try things out by that kind of process. Also, step in a certain direction and see what feedback you get. Try to get some support with other people to try to do what you want to do. See what support you get. That's also trying things out. But there's another way of doing it. You can just walk towards it or away from it. Symbolize a choice on one wall of your living room and the opposite choice on the other wall. And just walk one way, the other way, one way, the other way. And your body will tell you which of these things is more appropriate right now. And that might change tomorrow. We're only ever making our decisions for this moment. But it might be a 30-year decision. Now, Uranus depends upon accessing an aspect of intelligence that's rather unusual. It's not mercurial, it's not thinking. That's not what Uranus is. It's knowing immediately. There's no duration to Uranus to speak of, or the time it takes for a lightning bolt to leave the heavens and strike the earth. Symbolically speaking, in fact, it's instantaneous, but it looks as though it takes half a second. And we have that amount of time to make the right decision if it's a Uranian decision. So if you think, I'd like to do that, there's a very strong argument in favour of doing it immediately if you know it's the right thing. Not postponing it. Not thinking again too long. By all means, check it out. Make sure that you're making the right intuitive decision. But as soon as you know the right thing to do is to do that, and you have that burst of Uranian certainty that is not given to you with Mercury. Mercury's game is to think, well, it's that probably, but it could be that. Like, you know, what a Gemini's like. That's Mercury, isn't it? So Uranus isn't like that. It doesn't consider the other point of view. It doesn't have plan Bs. Uranus's plan B is C and D and E and F. It just wants to move, and it doesn't have any duration. So if your agency of intuitive understanding is Uranian, which gives it the highest degree of likelihood of being in service to the soul's agenda, then it's fast and you need to act upon it really quickly. And if you think about it, or you change your mind, or you want to just get that holiday in or that job completed or whatever, then Uranus will go and it will rob you of the urgency that requires you to act in other words, energy to motivate you to do something, that's rather difficult because you have to break out of habit patterns, the chains that bind you to the past. So Uranus is going through Taurus 20, spiritual forces. I'm familiar with this one. This is my Mars, so I'm going through a Uranus-Mars conjunction again. The last time I did this, I was hyperactive for the duration of the transit. It was really energizing, and I got a very difficult job done easily and quickly, and it was really hard work for a long time. Taurus, Mars in Taurus, likes to work hard. So it's Taurus energy. Taurus does not move unless it's absolutely necessary, but when it is moving, it doesn't like to stop. So Uranus is actually saying, look, you need to get moving now and get the job done. Don't stop until you finish the job. And it's combined with Pluto going into Aquarius. Look, what you're going to do next might be that which rescues you from being caught up in the maelstrom of everything else going on that's sludgy and tarry and bringing the whole of civilization, by the look of it, into this morass of nastiness. There's a lot of nastiness in the world now that wasn't here a year ago, or 2-3 years ago, certainly. All these wars, they're getting more and more frequent, and it's just starting. The background politics, if you look into that, of all of these wars, it's not recent. Some of these issues have been going back hundreds upon hundreds of years without resolution. Take the Middle East. Take Russia's need for borders extending beyond its middle point and out to the former borders of the Soviet Union. It needs to have that space to be safe. There's reasons that have gone back hundreds of years that have not been resolved. And they're up for grabs now, and there are more. There's water wars starting now. Ethiopia, Eritrea, kind of wars where access to the ocean, access to fresh water. There are people stopping the flow of oil, which basically is holding China to ransom. Now, when you're doing these kind of things with missiles that kill, this is not trivial, and it's not temporary, and it's not going to go away. And that's where we are. And however favoured I am towards speaking optimistically, I'm not going to deny the fact that this is the most dangerous period in world history I have known in my lifetime, except before 1963, basically. It's a long time since it's been this bad, all of 60 years. Pluto and Aquarius will resolve this one way or the other. And I think that one way or the other is not decided yet. And it's not for everyone. So some will go one way and some will go the other. So those of us that want to actually move towards sharing things in community, helping people out, being loving and caring and kind, and working towards the Aquarian ideal, well, we'll choose that. But choosing it means we're not choosing that which is not that. So if you're ambitious to get ahead and be, into this Capricorn reality of being rewarded for being special, that's not really an Aquarius principle. So Pluto going into Aquarius will rather more powerfully support those of us who are working towards the greater good of humanity. So whatever it is you've been waiting to do in your life, to enact a vision to serve humanity, it's now. You do it now. You don't wait any longer. You get on with it now, because it's the 11th hour. And Uranus in Taurus 20 is going to show you the signs that you look for to know how to make that decision. And that decision is not only what you do, it's also how you do it and with whom you do it. That's all part and parcel of the same thing. And suddenly, maybe even this week, Uranus will give you clues like, do that, get on with it now. And those of us who actually make fast decisions intuitively are likeliest to break through to the new dimension that we can then live in. And we have collectively, those of us that do that, collectively we have to build like an ark in terms of Noah's Ark. You know, we have to build a bridge from where we are in terms of a species now to where we need to be to live properly. And facilitate a spiritual awakening. None of this can work without a spiritual awakening. There needs to be an awakened consciousness collectively. But that's subject to free will, like everything throughout the eternal world that we live in. Everything is subject to free will. So those people who don't want to do this, we have to let them do whatever they want to do, which seems to be to do with selfish profit-making and war and all those horrible things. What we want to do is not that. We want to live well and properly. And so this is the point at which we make that choice. And that door of choice, that window of opportunity, that might not last indefinitely. That might close on us at some point. And if you're actually given an opportunity to choose to do the right thing without compromise, come what may, absolutely with all of your being, prioritizing this above all else, if that's what you choose, get on with it and choose it, because you may not have the opportunity to choose later. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody at all knows. God doesn't know. I suggest, though, that everything in history, everything in life as a human being has an opportunity. It opens, it has duration, and then it closes. Anything in life is like that. Why should this be different? So those of us that choose to go through Armageddon by being receptive to a spiritual awakening, make that choice. We make that choice, and then we draw it down. And we wake up one morning knowing that everything's different. It just feels different. Like, oh yeah, this is all right. This is the kind of life that I want. And other people will not have that experience. And those of us that recognize that we've done that and various other people have done that, we'll start to collect together somehow, identifying each other as the family that we're going into the future with. Now, I think that that is underway, that process of selecting your future family group. I think that process is underway, but I think that only a few people have really committed to doing that already, and we have to get everyone that we want to be with to do that. So it's the time to look for signs, look for clues, expect to see clues as to what to do next. If you want to make a decision to move, there will be a clue. A person will say something, you'll see something. Have courage, grasp the opportunity and be decisive.